welcome to episode 77 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
Well, this is our seventh casserole, but this one's a little more unique because it's going to strictly focus on Star Wars Celebration. Now, I just want to preface it by saying we didn't exactly go this year, but they live streamed the entire thing from Thursday all the way till Sunday, even the closing ceremony. So it was a lot. It was like 5 or 6 hours of Star Wars, 4 days in a row. So it was a lot. Um, we actually did go to Celebration like a couple of times. I've been to a bunch of them. I think Vic, has been to a couple of them, and we actually got to go to one together 2 years ago. And I think we've talked about that story pretty heavily. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of stuff to do, and Anaheim is great. And one thing that I loved about the Anaheim one, though, is outside they had all these different type of food trucks, and which was great because normally these venues don't have a lot of food. Uh, but this particular venue had tons of different food you could choose from outside, which was fantastic. The only problem is out here in the West Coast, especially when you're wanting to go and do Star Wars all day or Comic Con or some convention all day long. Uh, Food trucks are great and all, but we could really use a Wawa out here.
Well, they leave after a while. Like they leave after, they usually close down at like 10 or 11. And where I went to school, the grease trucks is what we called them. Not food truck, grease trucks. Where I
Nice.
went to college, the grease trucks would be, they'd be done at around, uh, the grease trucks wouldn't be done until like after the bars were, closed. So like if the bar
Oh,
closed at 2, they wouldn't leave till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
oh yeah.
Food trucks in Anaheim, however, were done at what, like 9 o'clock,
Yeah, as soon as
8 o'clock.
celebration was over, they'd only stay open another hour or two, and then they were gone.
Yeah, so on something like Celebration, it'd be nice to actually walk into a Wawa and get like a full sub, chips and soda, and if you're California, you can get beer, um, which is nice too. So again, continuing with our trend here, I don't know how many episodes we've done with West Coast Wawa. Again, that's hashtag West Coast Wawa. We will not stop until somebody recognizes from Wawa or you people get so sick and tired of us mentioning Wawa that you actually start retweeting this stuff or hashtagging everything.
Or
So,
stop downloading the podcast and we rolled.
so yes, please, West Coast Wawa. It'd be great to go hopefully to the next celebration, and there's an actual Wawa out there.
That's
It's in Anaheim.
That would be fantastic.
So with this one, again, we didn't go. We saw all the videos, all the live streams, and they opened big on Thursday with a 40th anniversary panel.
Hmm.
Um, some major stuff happened there. The first major thing was that Harrison Ford actually made it this time because he didn't crash a plane. Because when we went, he was supposed to be there, but he had gotten into a plane accident and I think couldn't make it for that one. So this time I think he drove, so which is good. Um, Another big one was Hayden Christensen made his first celebration since I think
since
he was at
since
Revenge of the Sith one
yeah, since
episode Celebration 3.
right, and that's where you and I met. So
Right.
we got to see him there, and I remember the Rick McCollum special. That was like the big deal to watch the 3D presentation.
Right,
And
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
they had some. There was a few people missing from here.
Oh yeah.
One of the biggest names was Natalie Portman was a huge one, which I don't know. Maybe she thinks she's too good for Star Wars right now. But she didn't show up. They didn't even mention her actually.
No, not at
Of
once.
course they mentioned Carrie Fisher. They barely mentioned Kenny Baker, who both of them had passed this past year.
Hmm.
Let's see, who other surprises did we get? Oh, one other person's missed. Before we get into the 40th panel, because it's there was a lot of good stuff that was happening there, a lot of reminiscing, a lot of cool stories. But one of the things that I want to mention that nobody mentions is where's David Prowse? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so how can you have a 40th anniversary panel and not have Darth Vader himself there? Yes, James Earl Jones is the voice. Like James Earl Jones has said, he's more of an after effect because the acting is basically all done by David Prowse. So how can you not have Darth Vader himself there? I know Lucas and him had some beef, but this guy doesn't have much time left, and he's Vader. So come on, where's David Prowse? Hashtag that. Where's David Prowse?
Yeah, that would have been huge. That would have been bigger than putting Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame finally. You know.
Well, I think some other Philly fans might argue with that who aren't Star Wars fans.
I don't care. David Prowse is worldwide. Pete Rose is just a whatever USA. But yeah, I remember you mentioning a few podcasts back about the documentary about him, and I Am Your Father, I think it's called, and it's great. Any Star Wars fan should watch it. I think it's still on Netflix, but it's really
Yes.
great because it really focuses on him and his career. And this guy really took a time to learn about David Prowse and why he had a lifetime ban from Lucasfilm or from the conventions and all that. And really, honestly, after all this time, let it fucking go, man. Like, let this guy come and be adored by his fans. You
So
know.
the other thing about it is, if you actually watch the documentary, it's pretty close to maybe he might not have said a couple of things that they thought, but he definitely didn't do the things which basically got him the ban. I think the thing that might have rubbed Lucas that he actually did say the wrong way was that he wasn't. I don't think he was a big fan of the prequels. Don't quote me on that.
Hmm.
But even if he did everything that you're pissed off at him about, you have $7 billion. Get the fuck over it.
Yeah.
Get over it. I seriously, I would not like. One of the things about the 40th panel is that one of the big things is they actually got George Lucas there, his first in Celebration 3, and you could tell he was still jaded by critics and some fans about the criticism he got for episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
I mean, he was stoned face when Liam Neeson cracked a joke about
Jar Jar.
Jar Jar Binks in his little skit that he had there because he couldn't make it. He was filming, and you could see Lucas was like stone faced about Jar. Like he if Lucas was like 30 years younger and maybe 3 feet taller, he probably would kick Liam Neeson's ass, but he's not. But you could tell he's still affected by this stuff, and it honestly would not surprise me if one of the things he put in the contract was before he signed over to Disney was that he wanted the continuation or continue the ban of David Prowse from these celebrations. It's bullshit, honestly. Like, how can you have that much money and still be bitter about something that honestly doesn't even fucking matter anymore? Especially
Yeah.
since the internet now spoils everything,
I, I
everything.
I don't know. And you've had other people that were in the movies that bashed the prequels, and they didn't get bans. I mean,
Luke did. I mean, Mark Hamill did.
Mark Hamill bashed some of it. Ewan McGregor bashed it. He hasn't appeared in any celebration, like none of them.
Yeah.
So, and he's been pretty coy about wanting to come back and stuff. I would love that.
Oh yeah.
But he has bashed the prequels. He has.
Yep.
So, but whatever. I guess he's a bigger star. So yeah, we can't ban him or anything like that. But yeah. So getting back to the panel, it was pretty cool to see Hayden Christensen up there. He looked pretty comfortable. He looked like happy to be there again. And
I'd love for him to get a second chance. I
yeah,
honestly would.
me too.
It's not like Jake Lloyd, who is basically terrible in everything I've ever seen him in. And I know he's going through some hard times now, but I'm just talking about it on screen. I'm just trying to separate his on-screen performances versus what is going through his personal life. And on screen, he kind of blows. So I don't think he has what it takes with even a decent director directing him. I've seen Hayden Christensen in a couple things. He was in Life as a House,
Oh yeah.
which was really good. And then what was the one again that he did that it
Uh,
was a writer?
yeah, that was Shattered Glass.
Right. He was really good
Really
in that.
good.
So he's got.
I liked
I
him in
mean, a lot
Jumper
of his
too.
other. He was
Jumper.
okay in Jumper,
Yeah, I like
but
Jumper.
again, like what's going to happen is you get these young talented people, and unless they're phenomenal, like Natalie Portman, they can overcome the prequels, right? Unfortunately, I don't think Hayden Christensen has been in a film that is that great with a director that can push him to the boundaries to actually get the best out of him because I think he has it in him. And I think if you put him in front of a good director and give him a second chance to actually, maybe tell that Vader story from, Revenge of the Sith, The same thing that we want Obi-Wan. We want episode 3, the gap between episode 3 and episode 4. We
Hmm.
want those Obi-Wan stories. Well, I want a Vader story in there. I
Absolutely.
want, and please, if there's any chance, give Christensen a chance to, don the helmet again. It would just be awesome to just have him be in there and maybe see him with the mask once in a while off. And then of course you get like a different like stunt person in there and do all that other shit.
I,
But
I want to riff a little bit about a Vader movie. I mean, they really could. We're going to talk about Rebels a little bit later, but they really could mesh the Darth Vader story with the Rebels story. Like
oh, they could, yeah.
if they don't kill those characters off, like Ahsoka or Ezra or Kanan or whatever, at the end of Rebels, you could segue into a Darth Vader movie, live action movie. Because I know that Dave Filoni, he was asked at the panel whether or not he would direct a live action movie, and he was very interested in it. So that, I mean, they could do a Darth Vader movie. Keep Tarkin out of it. That's a lot of digital work. But just have Darth Vader in there. Finally, like actually hunting down Jedi, because that's been mentioned a lot. That he hunted
Yeah.
and killed all the Jedi. So you you took out the deleted scene of Shakti being killed in Revenge of the Sith. You actually put her in Force Unleashed. Where Star Killer kills her, but I don't think Force Unleashed is canon, is it?
I don't
Um,
think so.
yeah, so I mean, you can have Ahsoka, you can have Kanan, you can have Ezra, or a
Well, it
combination.
depends. It honestly depends on the timeline of like not to jump too far ahead,
Right.
but it depends on when Rebels ends, like where it is sitting because now they're getting very close to Rogue One, who she's mentioned in Rogue One. Hera is, and
Yes.
what's it? Chopper's in that movie too, and so is the ship that they fly.
Right.
Is in Rogue One, so it's canon now. So
I guess
it
you
really
might
depends
be
on where you're going
you
to
might
be.
be right. So Darth Vader's story wouldn't work with Rebels unless it was between New Hope and Empire, I guess.
Well, it would
Um,
have to if again, depending on what they do in Rebels, if those people are still alive by the end of Rebels, you could have them murdered by Darth Maul because there's a
Darth
short
Vader.
time frame.
Darth
Yes,
Vader.
sorry, Darth Vader. Maul's already dead.
Finally,
Spoilers.
finally.
Yeah, after getting cut in fucking half. Um, so there's a short time frame between. There could be a short time frame between Rogue One and Rebels that you could fit a standalone Vader story. I don't need like a trilogy of Vader stories. I feel like if I can just see the conflict, more conflict than I did in Revenge of the Sith, where he battles at, and that it would be interesting to just make a movie based on just a villain.
Yeah,
Don't give me the soft Vader.
I
Give me
I
the guy that
guess
scared the shit out of you when you watched
at the end of Rogue
the
One,
original trilogy. No, the original
real
trilogy, like
trilogy.
that guy.
Yeah, I guess
Before Jedi.
I guess you could do that, or I mean, or they would just go back to end of Revenge of the Sith and fill in that 19-year gap, where he's still young, and
Yeah, but I think that might be because that's a huge gap, right? And
yeah,
as I could see a lot more Obi-Wan stories that I could see Vader stories, and here's why: because I just think in the original trilogy he was barely in it, clearly, and in the prequels he was underused. And Ewan McGregor is just a phenomenal actor, and I feel like if I want to see a Vader movie, I want to see one standalone movie where you finally see like that that utter like death about Vader that you're just scared shitless at the end of Rogue One. I want
yeah,
to see that,
yeah,
and I feel like if you push it to a trilogy, again, I don't want to see the soft Vader. I only want to see a minute amount of conflict where he's just all red, like he's just all about hunting these people down and not giving a shit.
right.
You know, that's what I want to see, and I don't think I need to see 3 movies of that. I think I
No,
could be
no.
satisfied with one.
Yeah, one off would be good. Would be really good. But yeah, I mean, shoot, there's so many different stories you could tell because there is a pretty large gap there that they could do. There is a comic book called Vader Down where he actually like crashes on a planet and he's got to like, I think he's with the Emperor or something like that, and they have to get off this planet, and it's pretty bad what they do too to get off the planet. But yeah, so but that was cool to see Hayden Christensen. Yes, Harrison Ford was a big surprise. But I was really bummed that like Ewan McGregor wasn't there. They did like little videos with like you said, Liam Neeson and Sam Jackson, but they weren't great. You know, they were kind of Sam Jackson's was a little bit, you know,
better.
ha ha, a little bit better. Um,
But there is some truth to it.
well, yeah, there is because George Lucas kind of confirmed earlier that we don't. I don't think Mace Windu's dead. You know, usually people don't die unless you see them die.
Look, Darth Maul
So,
got cut in fucking half. And even Lucas himself said, like, he got cut in half. How much more definitive do you want to get?
right,
And then they bring him back in Clone Wars. And even though you can say Clone Wars might not be canon, but Rebels is, and he's in
right.
Rebels, so you can't not have that be canon. So if that's the case, then there is a chance that Mace Windu is alive.
Yeah, it's
Um,
possible. Just go into hiding though for 30 years. That's just the unlikely thing. You know what
I
I
just
mean?
don't
It's
think I don't really need to see like a standalone Mace Windu movie. If he makes a cameo, I'm okay
no,
with it.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, like Sam Jackson's like what 60 or 70 years old.
yeah.
Like he barely can hold a lightsaber. Like I don't want to see like a defeated Jedi.
Poor Mace Windu. He lost his purple lightsaber. He's got no hand. He's like,
Yeah.
God. Who else was on that panel? Let's see. Peter Mayhew. It was cool to see him. Um, he's getting up there in age, poor guy, but he's still doing his thing. I guess he's in
Warwick Davis was there, of
Warwick
course.
Davis, who was actually hosting a lot of those panels.
Yeah.
I think he hosted a lot last year too in the Europe one. But who else? Anthony Daniels. He's always a crack up. Yeah, it was a pretty good panel. They didn't really, obviously, they weren't bringing anything new to the table. There was a lot of the same questions and things I've heard before, but it was pretty cool to see them all up there. And Mark Hamill was up there sitting next to Harrison, which was cool.
Yeah.
We got to see, but what really brought the house down was they brought out Carrie Fisher's daughter, Billy Lord,
Oh
and
yeah.
and then they played that tribute, which you can go on YouTube and watch the tribute, and it's if you don't cry, then you're a freaking robot, you know. So that was pretty touching.
We did get to see George Lucas change his answer again about the movies.
Fuck. Yeah.
Originally, he never said anything about he never defended the movies before the prequels. Like because they were such a success and critical and box office hit. The original trilogy was, but
Yeah.
he ever since the prequels, he's always been defending them. And this he used to say he just makes it for himself.
Right.
They're the most expensive independent movies ever made, and they are.
Yeah.
Because he basically funded them all. And so, to a certain degree, he's from a certain point of view, he might be right, but he changed his answer this time and said he made
The original trilogy for 12-year-olds.
right to justify the prequels that he made for 12-year-olds and stuff like that. And I don't buy it. I mean,
Mm-mm.
obviously, I love George Lucas because I wouldn't have Star Wars. But every time I hear him in an interview, he didn't really have much to say positive about the Force Awakens.
No.
Um, he was on the side of they just remade A New Hope, which to a degree, he's right. Again, from a certain point of view, he's right. But honestly, I think we've mentioned before on this podcast, they would have never made the Force Awakens the way they made it or wrote it if the prequels weren't what they were. I
Yeah.
honestly 100% believe that The Force Awakens was basically to recreate and show you that Star Wars is still alive and it can be great again, to
Yeah.
bring you back. Um, so again, he didn't have anything positive to say about that. I don't think he said much about Rogue One. I think he said he liked it better than The Force Awakens, which is another dig at The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Because Rogue One is essentially like a one off. So it's really not part of the movies.
No.
I mean, I'm sorry, not the Skywalker saga anyway.
Right.
Um, but episode 7 has direct impact on that. And so, like, I think again, if there's just no way, nobody would ever admit it, honestly. Nobody would ever say, like, yeah, we made The Force Awakens like A New Hope because we needed to get butts back in the seat and realize that, Star Wars could be great again.
No,
And nobody would ever admit it.
no one's going to
But
come
come
out
on.
and say, no one's going to come out and say it like you just said it. But they've hinted. I mean, they've taken digs at the prequel. Look at the very first line in Episode 7. It takes a dig at the prequels. Um, what's his name? Vince Van Sandow, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can't remember his name, but yeah, his very first line. It's like we need to make things right. Stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was a pretty cool panel. I think I would have really liked to been in that arena to watch that live, but it was kind of nice to watch it from my bed.
And
All
not be hungover.
right. Yeah, so that was it was nice to do that. But so a little bit of a transition before we get to some of the other stuff later on. But one of the other panels that I was really interested in watching, and you'll know where I'm going with this, but the heroines of Star Wars. Um,
Yes.
we we haven't really talked about. Uh, we have a very special podcast coming up uh, soon, and it's about. It's got a female type of theme to it. Um, and one of the people we actually got to interview was the host, if you will, of this particular panel. And she had on there some pretty cool guests. Like she had, well, first of all, she brought Dave Filoni out, who created Clone Wars and Rebels. Um, and they brought out, I think it's Ashley Eckstein who plays Ahsoka.
So
They brought out the lady who plays, was it
Sabine.
Sabine? And did they bring out Hera? No, I can't
No,
remember. Yeah, I don't think Hera was there.
that was surprising too because well, the other thing, well, okay, so one of the other people they bring out is Daisy Ridley too.
Yes.
So what they do, they introduce these new figures that are coming out. That is specific, not specific, but they're targeted for the girls, and they look awesome. They look like they're a step above the DC superhero girls action figures, the 12-inch ones.
A little more detail, right?
Yeah, a
Like,
little bit more detailed. And what's awesome about this one is they're almost taking a page book out of DC, honestly,
hmm
because the DC superhero girls don't have an actual cartoon; they have shorts online. You
yes,
just type in DC superhero girls, and you'll see the shorts online. Well, Star Wars took that to a next level, basically copying them and trying to make it better. So they made better figures. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm saying it because you could just look at them and see the details much better. And secondly, they created, with Dave Filoni overseeing the project, 2-minute shorts for each figure. And I think it's going to be an ongoing thing. But I'm
and
not
all the voices, all
right.
the
So
voices.
all the actual voices of all the figures, I don't know how they're going to do Carrie Fisher's because Leia is one of them.
Right.
And that's why I think Hera wasn't out there because she didn't have a figure. Part of that.
Yeah, that was a
So
bummer. Yeah.
So everybody that was on the panel except for Dave Filoni, got had a specific figure, and they even got Daisy Ridley to do the voice acting for the 2-minute short, for her character. So that's awesome. But that was a small portion of the panel. Most of the panel was talking about the women in Star Wars. The women who actually have speaking parts in Star Wars
hmm
now. Back then it was
Just
basically Princess
just
Leia and
Princess
Mon
Leia.
Mothma
Yeah.
and Mon Mothma. But what's interesting is there's like 1,000 men in those movies, right? And only two women have speaking parts. But what's interesting is that the two women who have speaking parts are the two most important women in those movies.
Oh, absolutely.
And all of them are very strong, independent, smart, brave, and that seems to be like an ongoing thing that that of course Kathleen Kennedy promised us, and I still remember, I can picture her face when she said, just wait, about the female representation in the Star
hmm
Wars universe, knowing full fucking well that Rey was going to be the next Jedi,
Oh
or
yeah.
apparently the next
We
Jedi
got
anyway.
we got Ray. We got Jin Ursa, which I think they made $1 of her as
Oh
well.
right, that's yeah, she's in there.
And yeah, I was surprised Felicity didn't come out either. I know she was there. Um, They did a making of Rogue One panel, and I didn't really catch it, but I know that Alan Tudyk, who played K2SO, and I know that Forrest Whitaker was there because I saw an interview with Felicity Jones and Forrest Whitaker, like a small interview, like in the main hallway with all the fans hanging out and all that. But yeah, it was a great panel. It was really great to see those women up there, because, like you said, it was a man's world in Star Wars for a very long, like for 30 years. I mean, the Clone Wars was made what, about 10 years ago, and it featured some females in there, but Rebels really stepped up their game, and had some really strong females, and then of course the
Well,
new
it all started
live
from
action
Clone
movies.
Wars. It
Yeah.
all started from Clone Wars with Ahsoka.
Yes.
Her story arc. You're still not done with it, but her story arc is, and I'm only talking about Clone Wars. Her story
Hmm.
arc in Clone Wars is awesome.
Yeah.
It's so great when you reach the end of her arc in Clone Wars. Um, but but again, couldn't reiterate enough how awesome the panel was, just to have all of their perspectives about their character and what they love about Star Wars. I mean, even even when Filoni was talking about his inspirations for powerful female characters, he mentioned Princess Leia was like the first one
Yeah,
that he
absolutely.
had. So it's about time that they got their due, and I don't have any complaints about it. And it's not about pushing like feminism. It's just about it's good storytelling. Like it just makes sense to me, um, to have Ray now the center of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really good storytelling, and it's a tribute to them too. Like with Ahsoka, I remember they were talking about how in the beginning people were really annoyed with Ahsoka. They didn't nobody, not a lot of people liked her, and I was kind of one of them in the beginning. I was like,
Yeah, me
I
too.
was like, she's kind of annoying, but they were just like, just wait, and sure enough, she has one of the kick-ass stories. I mean, it's like the end of, was it season 5, I think, and I did watch it. It's like a 3 or 4 part
Oh, you caught up. You
episode.
finally saw the
Oh
three
yeah,
episodes.
it's so freaking good. And then they came out with a book late last year that's it's all Ahsoka, and they filled in the gap between when she left the Jedi Order and when she comes back in Rebels, and it's a really good book, like a best-selling book, I guess. Um, so, speaking of Ahsoka, there's been a lot of a lot of chatter online about, oh, who should play Ahsoka and she should be in the next movies and all this stuff. And I you know I have like, I'm of two minds of that. I was like, number one, don't put a bunch of people in the new movies, that are in the Clone Wars or Rebels, because then it just kind of takes away from that story that's going on. They could have probably standalone movies or whatever, but also like, I think Ahsoka one would be tough. Like you'd have to get an actress that
She would be really old too,
she would be
depending on how Twi'leks age. I'm not too
age.
sure. I think they age like humans do.
Yeah, yeah. So she would be, you know,
Older than Luke.
geriatric Ahsoka.
Older. She would be older than Luke.
Yeah. So I
She
don't
would
know.
actually. She would be Vader's age if Vader was still. Oh, well, actually, yeah, she would be a little bit younger than Vader would be if he was alive in Episode 7.
Yeah, something like that. I'm actually very nervous about season 4 of Rebels. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But so anyway, before we kind of transition on, I just want to remind everyone out there we are on Patreon.com, which is a great website to go on there and sponsor your favorite artists. Uh, I mean, I don't paint, but we are podcasters, so it's a kind of an art form, I guess. But if you love, hearing all this content, you can donate or sponsor us for as little as $1 a month, and there's different tiers of rewards. So, depending upon what you want to sponsor us for, you get all sorts of different rewards. You can get a bonus pod, you can get hats, T-shirts, whatever. Depends on the tier that you sponsor to, and that is Patreon. So patreon.com/chew on this podcast. Um, so one of the other things, the highlight for me, and the highlight for you probably as well, just like it was two years ago at the last celebration that we went to, but it was when they debuted the trailer for Battlefront 2. Um, I remember
or
seeing
Battlefront.
or yeah, Battlefront, right, from when we saw it in Anaheim. That was a big deal for us to see that and also play on the Battle Pod, which kind of different thing, but still pretty cool.
Unfortunately, the game did not live up to the hype.
It didn't. And one of the biggest things or problems for me is I'm not a big multiplayer, like I'm not a big going online kind of guy. So I was really lacking or missing that single player campaign. And I know that they listen because watching the trailer and also hearing listening to the panel or watching the panel, they did say a couple of things that were good about it. They said that there is a single player campaign, which I'm stoked about. There is a pretty high level multiplayer as well, which is good. They should have that. Where you can play Darth Maul fighting Yoda. I mean, it's cool shit that you like. If you have the figures and you're playing outside, you get to do that in multiplayer mode. And then the other thing is there is no DLC thing where you got to pay $50 and get a bunch of episodes. So I was kind of happy about that because I was kind of pissed. You pay $60 for the game, and what I got to pay another $50 just to get a map here and there. And like that's a little excessive. So I think they listened, and after making like what 700 or $800 million on the last game, I think they got enough money. So, but
Let's just
it looks
let's
good.
just let's just hope the single campaign is decent. Like that was my biggest gripe with that game too was there was no single player campaign. Like I'm playing Mass Effect Andromeda right now, and
Hmm.
for $60 I'm gonna get like probably 60 plus hours of gameplay
Oh,
just on the main story.
absolutely.
And Battlefront was you get a few tutorials and then you go online, and that was it. And then you start with like 8 maps, if even that,
Hmm.
and then you paid $50 to get the rest of the maps, and that was bullshit. Like so, most of like the maps don't take up a lot of space. It was almost like they rushed everything just to get it out on the shelves,
Right.
and then the rest of the game was like online. Like there should have been like another downloadable content shit where they actually gave you the rest of the game on
Right.
top of the maps, like fucking $50 for maps and skins.
Yeah, and you had to like I have a PlayStation 4 and I'm like I don't want to subscribe to a monthly service to just to get this content. Like forget it. I don't want to do that or to play it multiplayer. Like,
And there was no co-op. I don't know. I haven't heard this yet coming out of Celebration, but I hope there's a co-op campaign because like I
yeah.
play Gears of War as well,
Yeah.
and the co-op campaign kicks ass there.
Yeah, I don't know. They've really been getting away from that. Like the Call of Duty series in order to, I don't know, coding or make room or whatever, they just keep it single player and it's kind of annoying. Unless you're playing a multiplayer, map and then you can split screen or whatever, but not the actual game. It's kind of I don't know, it's weird. They've kind of like gone away from that formula and I wish they would come back. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. It looks very promising. I don't know if I'm going to run out and buy it when it first comes out because again, that's $60 and you wait like what till November or no wait, you wait until like February or March the following year, and usually it goes half off for one day. I mean, that's how I got Battlefront to begin with. I bought it for $30. So I don't know. I did go into GameStop though because I'm such a nerd. I did go into GameStop though and reserve the Black Series figure that goes along with that game because the game is really interesting because it starts right where Return of the Jedi ends, and you're part of an elite special force unit like Tie Fighter pilots or something like that. And again, the game has a lead is a female, and so which is very interesting and kind of like a Jin and Galen situation. Like I think her dad is part of the Empire or something like that, or like she has like this investment in the Empire. Not like she's evil or anything, but she feels like that's her. That's all she's known since she's been born. So she works for the Empire and all that stuff. But it looks good. So we'll see like what happens when it comes out. But
Especially when you start seeing gameplay footage.
yeah,
We'll get
absolutely.
more. It's so early. It comes out
Seven
in November.
months. Yeah, it's 7 months away. But
All
so
right,
we
let's move on. Let's move on to the Rebels panel
yes,
because I want to talk about Rebels and what Filoni has done from the Clone Wars till now.
Go for it.
I fucking love this show. I
Yes.
love it so much. Even the filler episodes, I don't mind because it's just about character development.
Hmm.
And this guy, Dave Filoni, when you listen to him talk about his thought process for creating characters, it's awesome. It's so great. This guy gets it. He gets everything about knowing how to tell a story and building it through characters and story arcs and trying to make sense of everything. Um, and for him growing up as a Star Wars fan to not want to like do things that other people do about just putting Easter eggs here and there and left and right or just calling characters back just to put them in the show. He doesn't do that. He only does it if it makes sense,
Right.
and it's awesome how he tells stories. I love the Clone Wars. They didn't really get an ending. Um, I have said in the past, I'm not sure here or not, but I really believe Dave Filoni fixed a lot of the prequel problems
Hmm.
in expanding the story and explaining a lot of stuff that happens to Anakin during the gap between episode 2 and 3.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and then with Rebels, he just, I mean, before Rogue One came out, it was Rebels is what we were, watching.
Hmm.
I mean, that's basically Rogue One right there, right? Like,
Yeah.
it just happens to be in animated form. And these characters are just so great. This year with Sabine's story arc, with the Dark Saber was so good.
Oh, the Mandalorians. Yeah, it was great.
If you haven't watched it yet, watch it. It's so great, especially the end of episode season 2, which is amazing. But the big announcement, trying to move this along because I know we're going to end up talking a lot about this one in the next subject matter. So the big announcement was that season 4 was going to be the last season of Rebels, and apparently it's going to push up really close to Rogue One.
Yes. Yeah, even to the point where like when I watched the trailer for season 4, which is just it's a total teaser. But I swear I saw a U-wing in there, in that trailer. I really could swear I saw one. So I'm like, ooh, like maybe we'll see. I know we're gonna see
Well,
Saw Gerrera.
did you catch Death Trooper?
Yeah, very briefly though. It's a very quick cut, and it's a quick cut of the Ewing. So we may, I know we're getting Saw Gerrera again, and Forrest Whitaker's coming back. That's confirmed. But I think we might get Krennic. We may get Cassian and K2, which would be great.
Hmm.
I don't believe Jin would be in there. I think that would be way too like a coincidence kind of thing. Like she's kind of off doing her own thing. We could get a more of Jeddah. Um, we could get Chirrut and Boz, maybe as a cameo if they're
I don't,
walking around Jeddah.
thinking
But
about that now, I'm not sure that would make sense. It would, it completely makes sense to have Cassian in there in K2.
yeah,
Not Jin though.
no, absolutely not.
Because you don't ever the movie opens up with Cassian trying to get the plans from that guy
Right.
that he ends up killing in the alleyway. Um, so you could have some meeting in the last 2 or 3 episodes about sending somebody off to retrieve this stuff. There's so much. They only do what they do. What 20 episodes?
20, yeah, between 20 and 22, something like
There
that.
is so much to fit in here because the fate of the 3 Jedi, or Ezra's not really a Jedi, but he's the closest thing in this time frame.
Hmm.
So between Ezra, Kanan, and Ahsoka's alive, so there's
Yeah,
no way she's not.
yeah.
Um, those story arcs have to end too,
Yep.
or they just have to be murdered, basically. Um, because again, I don't know how they're going to pop up anywhere else
Oh,
unless they want to do a live action, which I
well,
would be kind of annoyed if it's open ended.
I don't want it to be open ended. I want it to be ended. I want Vader to have some sort of thing to do with it. I want some sort of huge sacrifice to go through with, to kind of end it. A hero's death, something like that. To keep it open ended just doesn't make any sense. He gets to do an ending. They said, in Clone Wars he didn't get to. Now he does. He has an end game. So,
I'm dreading it, but I'm really like when Ahsoka fought Vader at the end of season 2.
ugh,
I first of all, it was amazing, and but I stayed away from spoilers.
hmm
So that whole time I'm watching that fight, I'm thinking, oh my god, he's gonna finally kill Ahsoka.
Yeah, me too.
you know.
I really thought that was going to happen.
And then when it didn't happen, I was like, and then she walks back into the temple. I'm like, okay, maybe she's got to come back. There's no way she's dead. So I'm dreading the second fight that happens between them. If there is a second fight, I'm really hoping there is,
Yeah,
because she's she has to meet her end. I mean, she's just got to.
yeah.
Um,
It's unfortunate, but yeah.
I mean, let's. I mean, the Darth Maul and Obi-Wan thing, that which you didn't like, but I loved. It was so quick, and Obi-Wan showed so much compassion as Maul was dying. I'm wanting the exact opposite of the Ahsoka Vader fight, because in the first fight that they have, when she gets his mask, you could tell like he hesitates a
Hmm.
little bit, and that good creeping into him. When they meet again, I don't want that. I don't want the
Mm-mm.
doubt in Vader. I want him. It would be amazing if, Ezra and Kanan are fighting Vader, and they're about to get killed. Ahsoka jumps in, and now all three of them are fighting Vader, and one by one, like, he picks them all off as like
That would be crazy.
as Chopper and and Hera like jettison away.
Yeah, because they show up in Rogue One, so that would
Right,
make
like
yeah.
that would be like, I don't want to see it because I love Ahsoka now. As much as I didn't like her in the beginning, that's how much I love her now. Um, I don't
What
want to see her go, but she's got to.
it's
She
got to
just
be
has to.
what could it possibly be though that they would? I mean, it has to be something that they've got to protect. I just don't know what that would be. So it's got to be something that they're going to have to do. They have to get away
Well,
from, or
they have to figure out, they have to end Lothar's story,
oh
that
yeah,
planet,
yeah.
and then I would be surprised if they let that Lothar thing go all season, because at some point in time, depending again how close they get to Rogue One, they need to start transitioning to a story or start Easter egging the plot where there's something big happening that the Empire is doing, and they need to find out what it is. And
Right.
if they're that would be pretty cool if it's that crew that finds out that they're building a Death Star, and that's what sends Cassian on his journey.
Oh shit. Like Hera and Chopper get away to tell the rebellion, "Hey, there's
Yeah,
something big happening."
as Vader fights the three Jedi.
Yeah, oh, fuck. Oh,
Oh
I got
man,
goosebumps, man. God damn. Yeah, I cannot
I
wait.
don't know if you're doing that, Filoni, and I doubt you'd ever listen to this podcast. But just on the outside chance, if you liked anything that you just heard, contact me.
Yeah. Totally.
Because he does say when he's saying goodbye to rebels in the panel, when he says this is the fourth season, but he says, like, specifically, don't worry, this is not the end of Star Wars animation. And I'm like, what could you possibly be doing? And what I said was two
Oh,
things.
yeah.
It would be the gap between episode 6 and episode 7,
Hmm.
or
Right.
it would be Knights of the Old Republic.
Ugh. Either one of those would be great. I mean, they
Because
could do between Empire and Jedi though too. There's that whole Shadows of the Empire
yeah, but I don't want
that
him to
people
do that.
love, but
He's been doing in between shit. Like personally, for me, here's my opinion about it. This guy has created characters and storylines and character development, but he had to play within a certain time frame. He
yeah,
couldn't do what he wanted. Like, I'm sure he wanted to do other things but couldn't. But he always played within the Skywalker playbox, right? Like, he couldn't go outside of that.
right.
Um I feel like this guy needs a chance to get in his own playbox and say, I'm going to create all these new characters, and I'm going to live in an area, in a time frame where it's thousands and thousands of years before Anakin's even born. And I get to tell my own stories this way without having to justify anything to anybody. This is the world I'm going to create.
Yeah,
And I think he would do an amazing job with
I
that.
would be totally behind that. I know a lot of people have been talking about a live action, but I would be completely behind him doing an animated version of Knights of the Old Republic. And if I see just a glimpse of Revan, I'm gonna freak the fuck out.
Mm.
It would that would be amazing. Um, So yeah, very. That was a very good panel with Dave Filoni and is it Pablo Hidalgo? I can't. There was a couple of different Rebels
Rebels, I
panels.
think.
There was a few
Rebels,
of
I
them.
think. Rebels, I think was
Had the whole
Warwick
cast.
Davis.
Yeah, I think it did have the cast up there. Um, they did do a Filoni panel though with just him and Pablo. That was pretty good too. They
Rebels was some other guy. Dave something was hosting. I don't remember who he is.
oh,
Some
he
younger.
does a lot of that guy does a lot of voice work and stuff too.
Okay.
Yeah. So we sort of saved I don't know necessarily say best, but definitely the most talked about thing that happened besides the 40th anniversary panel was on the day after they finally dropped the Last Jedi trailer during or it was right at the end of the panel, right? They kind of just like kept it.
Yep.
They do that a
They
lot.
saved it. They
They
saved
saved
it.
it for last, yeah. Versus like I think Rebels like played at the beginning or something
No,
like
no, it
that.
was towards the end.
Or was it toward the end too? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, so the Last Jedi panel, it was pretty cool. They had I think they had John Boyega up there. They had Daisy Ridley. There was a lot of people missing.
Yep.
A lot of people missing. I let's see, Oscar Isaacs wasn't there.
Laura Dern and Benicio del Toro were not there.
Yes, that was really mysterious. I was like, oh fuck, I want to know about those characters. Um, who else? There's just a
So
ton of
they had a new cast member there.
Oh
Her
yes,
name she was announced a while ago, but nobody knew who she was playing.
yes.
Even when she was announced, she couldn't tell anybody who she was playing. So they finally announced who she's playing. She's playing a character named Rose, and she's just a maintenance worker.
For
Now,
the Resistance,
uh,
right?
I'm not. It looked like she was in.
First,
Yes,
I,
Resistance.
I think
Well,
she's.
First Order. I thought she looked like she was in the First Order type thing.
Oh, we're gonna have to look that up. But I could have swore they said Resistance, but you might be
It don't
right on
matter.
that. It doesn't
She's a
matter.
maintenance worker, and when they first said maintenance work, I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, you got an Asian person finally with a main speaking role in Star Wars, and she's in maintenance. Like, what the fuck is what the fuck is this? Like, does she also own like a nail salon or a
They say,
laundromat? Like, this is bullshit.
she's like an accountant.
Yeah, or a doctor. Like, this is fucking horseshit. So, but then they said that that she's going to have a key role in the movie. She gets into some shit with Finn, and they have their own adventure. Some a little whatever they do something. They didn't give us anything else.
Right.
So that made me feel a lot better that she was just a maintenance worker. So that was a big announcement there too because she was the only new cast member that was up there.
Yeah, and like you said, we didn't know anything about this character. The actress herself has done a lot of things. I just didn't really put it together, but she's like a big internet star and a comedian, really funny. So her casting was very like bizarre and mysterious, you know. But now we know she plays a character called Rose. I think she does work for the Resistance, if I remember right, and she is a big part of the story. So we know.
Rose is probably like honestly, Rose is probably the most normal name in Star Wars other than Luke.
Yeah, you're right.
Because think about every name that you've ever heard. Like I've never heard anybody named Han or Leia,
No,
Obi-Wan,
now there is though.
Qui-Gon,
There's a lot of people called that now.
or Anakin. Now people I've heard people
Oh
use
yeah,
Anakin, but Rose and Luke are the most normal ones.
yeah. But I'm interested in that because the movie is going to have different focuses. It's going to have different plots. You know, you got Ray and Luke, and then you've got Finn and Poe doing their thing, and then you have someone I think Kylo Ren and Snoke. You know, so you're gonna you know, it'd be really funny is if they had like a Rocky like Eye of the Tiger music playing while Kylo Ren's like, you know, working out with Snoke and then Ray's working out with Luke. It's like
Like he's like what's Kylo Ren is like running in the snow or something.
no,
Or
it'd
like
be it would
running
be Ray.
like that rush.
It would
You
be
know that
Ray
Rocky
doing
Four
that.
scene.
Yeah, that's
You know
what I
that
mean.
Rocky Four scene.
It would
So
be
she's
Ray.
running on the she's running the hills, and Kylo Ren's running in like a facility somewhere,
Technology.
getting steroided up,
Yeah.
getting shot with steroids. Except in this case, it would be midi chlorians, but nobody says it. Nobody mentions it because
He's
because
juicing
JJ
with
said nobody
midichlorians.
would ever. Yeah, nobody would. No, he said nobody would ever mention midichlorians again, even though they exist. But like you're shooting it up, and like you see the word the midichlorian spelt out, but like after M and I, the label's like faded because it's been so long since anybody found like a shot of midichlorians.
But or like they just imply it because like he gets injected and then his force, he went from like trying to like force pull something and it didn't work, and then he juiced up and then he like did the force pull and the whole wall rips off and he's like,
Yeah, it's
oh
just like
yeah.
they're trying to determine his like pound per pressure, like in like Drago,
Yeah.
right? Like in Rocky Horror, and he force pushes the machine through the wall,
And they're like, yeah, you did it.
and then
Yeah.
Brigitte Nielsen is just standing on the side nodding in approval.
Oh my god.
Uh,
I want to see that movie. I
and
want
then like it's instead of the short Russian guy, it's like Snoke there standing there. And he says anything he force pushes, he kills.
More midi chlorians, more.
And then you flash to Luke and
Ray
Ray training, and
with rocks.
Ray, yeah, with rocks. She's now doing the handstand.
uh,
And Luke is like, well, because fucking Yona made me do it, you're gonna fucking do it too. I've never had to do this in a fight, but you're gonna fucking do it.
I've been waiting all these years to make someone
Yeah.
do this shit.
And then like, because in Rocky 4, like yeah, in like Rocky 4, he's lifting like he's lifting the cart full of like people.
Yeah.
So in this one, it's Ray lifting up Luke and a shit ton of rocks in the cart. And then she
Move it,
climbs to
bitch.
she runs like she force runs all the way to the very top of the mountain, and at the top of the mountain she yells out Kylo Ren, like instead of Drago.
Kylo.
And then she jogs back down to the bottom, and like the music slows down, and then you see Finn standing there.
coming out of
Remember?
the
Remember
cave.
in Rocky 4 when
He's
remember
like,
in Rocky 4
yeah, Adrian.
Rocky comes back, Adrian saying it, instead it's Finn.
It's Finn standing outside the cave, like greeting her.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's so funny.
That's all credits.
Yeah, it's the Eye of the Tiger. Oh God. I wonder if John Williams could do Eye of the Tiger within the orchestra.
Paulie comes out of the cave and he's fucking complaining because he can't get his TV to work.
There's no internet service out here.
Yeah.
Shit.
My communicator's fucking messed up and my protocol droid doesn't work.
I can't watch porn on my little panel.
Yeah, because now it makes sense that he has that sexy robot that he had, the sexy voice robot in Rocky 4. And now he has one.
He's got like a protocol droid with a port.
Yeah.
Paulie. Oh my god. That's
Paulie's just sitting there. Paulie comes out with like a half bag of eating chips and shit. And a beer.
Yo, Ray, I lost all your money in bad investments.
Right. He's got like one of those flask things in a brown paper bag, half bag eating the chips.
He's got like I think a blue milk with vodka in it. Oh, Paulie, that's so funny. Yeah, so anyway, they actually finally show the trailer, and we got to watch that live with the rest of the world, which is pretty cool. And so some striking images in that trailer. First of all, I noticed that today somebody put the Force Awakens trailer side by side with the Last Jedi trailer, and beat for beat they're exactly the same. That was really weird, but they're exactly the same the way they're structured. But hey, the formula works. But there was some interesting imagery. Like I'm watching this thing still going like I have no fucking clue what they're doing in this movie. It looks darker. It does have some imagery that I remember from Empire Strikes Back, which I remember in a previous conversation. You're like, if they're on an ice planet and there's walkers, I'm going to be pissed. But you got it half.
They were on a desert planet and there was
right.
walkers. They're the exact opposite. Oh, you know what else pulled me away from the trailer too? There's a scene where after Rey, she's there on the rocks, and her hand is down on the rocks, and the rocks start moving up,
Oh
and I'm like,
no.
oh fuck, this is I saw this in Man of Steel. What the fuck is this? I was like, oh shit.
Superman did it first.
Yeah, Zack Snyder did it first. Fuck.
Yeah. They're like, too late. We already post production on this
If
scene.
she fucking starts taking off and learning how to fly in the first 5 minutes, I'm gonna be pissed.
She just flies around like Keanu Reeves in the Matrix, just like
Yeah, she just flies around and like destroys like all of Tatooine flying through it.
Yeah, Luke is like, I figured out the power of flight, for Jedi. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing is like I know we're gonna see some Force shit that we haven't seen before because
hmm
they've never like George has never really explored all the different things that they could do with the Force.
No,
Honestly,
there's books. That might be the first books I've ever seen in Star Wars.
she's all reading a book. She's like, oh shit, like I can make someone
And they
throw up
used
with the Force. Awesome.
like the brown note in South Park.
and the league.
Yeah, yeah. There, there's a book like actually there's the first time I've ever seen like books in Star Wars, and they actually have the Jedi Academy symbol in there or a variation
Yes.
of it.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is it's a derivative of the original poster, one of the original posters for A New Hope, and they use the same imagery
Yes.
for Ray to do it. And look, I know like people are wondering who the fuck Ray's parents are, but between the Luke's lightsaber, her direct connection to Luke's lightsaber, and now the two posters, like they don't do anything by accident.
No.
If you look at that poster from A New Hope, Luke is holding the lightsaber with two hands with the same kind of like electric emission coming out of the lightsaber because it's not a straight blade. There's like almost like a little explosion
Right.
coming out of it,
Yeah.
and then it goes thin. Well, Ray is doing the same thing in this in the Last Jedi poster, but she's only doing with one hand.
Right.
Now, I don't know if they're fucking with us, but that stuff is just too coincidental to say like she is not a Skywalker.
No.
Like it just it's too close. Like who else could it be? Because Luke again is doing the same almost identical pose in A New Hope
I
with the
don't
lightsaber.
I don't think that she's related to anybody from any of the genres, any of the movies. I just think that would be way too coincidental. Um I think that she has a different patronage, but maybe they were somebody that were powerful in the Force and they sent her to the
So
academy.
you think the pose and the lightsaber they're just fucking with us?
I think they're fucking with us because the first thing that I looked at when I saw it, a couple of things. I thought of the Last Starfighter, and then and then I thought of
Tron or
Tron.
Tron.
Yeah, I thought of Tron immediately after that. The poster's dope though. It's
Yeah, it kicks
really
ass.
really awesome. But there, there's a lot of imagery in the Force Awakens one too. Like the Rey's staff is the same, like the angle as Kylo Ren's, lightsaber, and there's a whole red side and a blue side, and she's kind of aiming toward the red side, like
Okay,
you
so
know.
if you notice, like that poster resembles the six other posters of the even the special editions for the
Oh
original
yeah,
trilogy, but they resemble the first prequel posters where you started using that style. Now
yes,
you go to the Last Jedi, and it's completely broken away from that format. And I think it's on multiple layers of why they did that.
yeah,
First being, we brought you back, like again, like we said before, I think they made The Force Awakens because the prequel sucked.
yeah,
Like the story and everything and how they made it, they made such a big deal about going back to how the original trilogy worked. They could not have thrown it more into George Lucas's face that your prequel sucked.
yeah.
So so again,
This is the
now
real
they brought
test.
us right. They brought us back from the Force Awakens. Like now everybody knows Star Wars can be good again. And then your first movie coming out of the gate, you change the color of Star Wars. It's red now. It's not that yellow orangish color, right?
Right.
And you have the Last Jedi there. Then the poster is a tiny bit callback to A New Hope, but everything else outside of that is completely different. Completely different.
Yeah.
They don't have a poster that looks like that.
No, it's weird. Luke is on one side of the lightsaber, Kylo Ren's on the other side, and they're red, and she is got bright blue, shining above her. There's a lot of different type of imagery. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to take that. It seemed like in the trailer. So let's go through the trailer a little bit more. But basically, like we see some books. We see her training like Karate Kid style. You
That
know,
yeah, that was another thing I saw in there too. Was Karate
yeah,
Kid.
like she was waving the lightsaber and he was standing above her, like watching. Um, what else was in that trailer? It's been a little while. Oh, there's a scene where it shows the back of her and she's like the ocean's hitting up against, making
Okay,
waves.
so that
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 reminded me
scene
of
right there,
Anakin.
right? Anakin on fuck, what planet was Naboo?
Yes.
When they were on was that wait? That wasn't Naboo, was it?
Yeah, it was Naboo because it was Attack of the
Oh, right, right,
Clones.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it was in Naboo where he's like meditating out there, um,
They
after having a dream about his mom.
yeah, he meditates a couple times. He does it there and he does it in the Revenge of the Sith too when he's dreaming about about Padme dying. I think there's a couple times where he goes and stands out on that balcony, either there or in another
But
place.
that shot is directly correlated to Episode Two.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Um, so they showed that. Then they showed a bunch of quick shots of looks like the Empire or the First Order finds the
It's fighting
base,
back, yeah, fighting back.
shoots. Poe's running away with BB-8. You see Finn still in the little, recovering in his pod or whatever. Um, we don't see anything else of any other character. We don't see Chewie. We don't see.
You see a quick flash of Phasma.
Yes.
You
What?
see
Oh.
what looks like the shot,
Hmm.
a wide angle shot of the dream sequence or the force sequence in the
Yes.
Force Awakens, where Luke drops down to his knees and puts his hand on
R2.
R2, and you see that there's a fire somewhere.
It's the other
Um,
perspective. It's their
it
perspective.
might be that that's what it looks like. So there might be some flashback scenes, or not flashback, but like more of a storytelling scene where Luke tells maybe Ray like what the hell's been going on
Yeah.
or what actually happened. You probably see the Knights of Ren finally instead of just a force
I'm
scene.
I'm excited about that. More
Um,
really excited
but
about that.
overall, like I mean, it's a good teaser. But I don't know about you. I didn't get the same goosebumps and craziness I got from watching the Force Awakens trailer. I think
Well,
because there was so much hype for the Force Awakens
yeah.
and what you kind of hit it right on the button there when you said in the beginning like you still don't know what this movie's about.
Hmm.
Um, and the trailer ends with Luke saying it's time for the Jedi to end. That got me going a little bit.
Yeah.
What's gonna really like blow my mind is if in the next trailer I see Luke doing something with a lightsaber. I'm gonna
Yeah.
fucking lose it.
I just
Gonna
hope
lose it.
I just hope not so much. I really want them to really hold back on the amount of stuff they want it to that they're going to show. I agree though. I mean, I'd like to see a little something, but not too much because they're notorious, especially with the prequels anyway, of showing too much, and then you go in going like, yeah, I already saw
Well,
that.
the Force Awakens didn't have anything like that. I
No.
mean, if they're smart, you kind of expect like Luke to wield a lightsaber at some point in time, right? Like, so it wouldn't be too big of a spoiler. What they should keep, and I was saying this to somebody today, and I would seriously burst out in tears in the movie. If I see Leia using the Force or igniting a lightsaber, I'm gonna fucking lose it.
Yeah, I would bawl my eyes out if I saw that, or if I saw her do anything with the Force. That would be fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, there's so much speculation. I did see like they have a massive space battle, so I was kind of excited about that because we haven't seen that in a while since Return of the Jedi or no, Revenge of the Sith. I guess the beginning of Revenge of the Sith they had a big,
yeah.
but that battle's
That
not.
shot was
That
actually
was
pretty cool.
the shot's cool, but then as soon as they got in the cockpits and they started talking, I was like, oh Jesus, like this is bad
Yeah,
dialogue.
yeah. It was good before that.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, overall, I think Celebration looked like it went off without a hitch. It looked like it was a lot of fun to be there. I do know from reading a lot of forums that it was that the crowds were really big. A lot of people were complaining about being able to get in the panels. They had to stay overnight. I mean, way more than what you and I had to do. That's for sure. That first night, we should have stayed the night. We would have made it, but they had to do that every night, including like Saturday night to go to Sunday's panels. I mean, that's crazy. Or if you want to get merchandise, you had to stand in a line to get a ticket to stand in another line to get the merchandise. I mean, there was a lot of lines. So I'm just hoping that they either a make the facility bigger, kind of like what they do with Comic Con. There's a lot of multiple things going on, so you don't, you have to pick and choose or whatever. But with Star Wars, it's almost like they could do panels at the same time, but then fluctuate them so that um, people can be able to see majority of everything. Because I heard a lot of people didn't get to see a lot. It's kind of like paying lots of money to go to Disneyland and riding like two rides. So that would be very disappointing. So in that respect, I'm glad that you and I didn't go. But I've been hearing a little bit of rumors. I don't know if this is true or not, but because 2019 is when Star Wars Land opens up, there's some speculation that they will bring it back to Anaheim in 2 years. So I guess they're skipping next year, so they won't get it back in Europe. But it kind of makes sense because to do it every year is too much. Because there are also people saying like, "Oh my God, these panels are exactly the same as they were last year. The same questions over and over again." And so I'm just like, well, they need to spruce this up a little bit. And but anyway, if it does come back to Anaheim, I definitely want to go. And maybe, and there's like a podcast circle there, so that'd be kind of cool to be part of that. But yeah, overall, it was it was fun to watch it from my bed every day. And now you can go on YouTube and you can actually watch all 4 days. I think each one is like 5.5 hours long. You can watch all the in between stuff between the panels. Like they do a lot of fun things. You can watch them. You can watch like Harrison Ford, I think, shoot T-shirts at people. Or was that Mark Hamill? I don't remember. But you can see a lot of neat things in between. And they talk about collectibles. They talk about all sorts of shit. So um, really, really cool stuff. Like 20 hours or 30 hours of content or some shit. It's pretty crazy. But very grateful for Disney to live stream that. So that was pretty cool because I'm glad it was. I felt like I was there. I didn't miss anything, so that was cool. But anyway, anything you'd like to add?
No, I just want the movie to be here now.
8 months,
Fucking
man. Eight
yeah, no, it's so
months.
far away.
It's going to be like 6 months before we even be able to buy tickets, or 7 months. And we probably won't. We'll probably see a trailer at D23, which happens in July. That should be the actual, like the real first trailer, and then probably another one during football season if they do the same thing they
October.
did before. Yeah, yeah. So, oh man, I'm jazzed. I'm just so there's a lot of stuff to for us to do in the meantime. So hopefully the next 8 months will go by pretty quick. So, but speaking of which, we do have some announcements coming up. We're not gonna drop them right now, but just stay tuned. Next month, we have some really cool stuff planned. So that's the month of May, um, especially toward the end of the month. So we'll talk about that. Two big things happening at the end of May, and we'll announce that soon, at some point. Alrighty, well, that was episode 77. That was our Casserole episode, number 7, if you're keeping count. And that was our take on Star Wars Celebration Orlando 2017. That's Chew on This Energy Night podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
Until next time, folks, chew on that.
Later.